QI, unfortunately, because I think it's extremely important to be proactive in quality improvement. So I think we'll just, it's going to be, I don't even know if we're going to totally stick with this agenda. We're going to try and hit all the points. There's a lot to go over. And the biggest thing I want to come out of this today, one of my main goals to come out of this today is for us to go over the QI work plan. So once we go over the draft form of the QI work plan for 16-17, we're going to be putting it on our website. So, and the 15-16 one was first required just this last year to make sure that we have that one on the website. So this is very new, so we're going to have it. This will be, the deciding factor if it's on there, it needs more improvement. So that's my main goal for this meeting today. I'm sure there's other main goals, but that will also help us with our community's support here, as you are. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Maurice.
Maurice.
Maurice Taylor. Mm-hmm.
Okay, how are you, Maurice?
I'm fine, thanks.
It's nice to have you here.
Well, I'm concerned about qualities.
That's great. We need more people to be concerned about the qualities. We're definitely concerned. So I think we're going to first start off with our check-in activity. So when we do a check-in activity, it's kind of to break the ice a little bit and to see who you are and see a little bit about who we are. And it's not very long, but it's basically going to be introducing yourself, what you're interested in here, and the check-in activity is, since I'm about to go on vacation, I thought, what is a good vacation memory? So I'm hoping to create a good vacation memory as of tomorrow. I'm leaving for Tahoe for a week. So I guess I'll be starting since I'm already speaking. Marta Ford, I am the QI coordinator and compliance officer. Starting my vacation tomorrow for a week in Tahoe, and then I'll be back for 2 weeks, and then I just put in my resignation yesterday. So handing it over to them. Pretty much.
This sounds like a really sad story.
It's I've been here for 17 years, and it is a sad story, but it's also, we're hoping for a happy ending later on. And I know that there's a lot of changes here. And I'm looking forward to hearing about all the great work that is going to be happening after I leave.
Is this a passing the torch?
This is pretty much passing the torch. To give you some background, I kind of took over from, I got passed the torch in 2009 when my supervisor, who was the compliance officer, QI quality coordinator, he retired, Wally Kelly. And so yeah, now I'm passing the torch on. I'm looking forward to doing something different, but this group is a really good group, and this activity of quality improvement is super important. I mean, like I said, I look forward to hearing about all the good things that's going to be happening. I think there's a lot of restructuring that's going to be happening that's very needed. And I want them to succeed so badly. So, thanks. You want to go next?
Sure. I am Elaine Allred, and I'm the Staff Services Analyst for Nation State, and I went on a mini vacation this summer to Sea Ranch, which was fun. And my good memory from there is just being on the beach and relaxing and playing all that energy for the ocean.
My name is Bonnie Schmidt. I'm the Head of Office of Education. And I guess the reason that I'm here is, because we have a staff that we want to definitely see improvements and work with the mental health. And I think we're starting out by already having some trainings. Hopefully Eric will come in and do some trainings. And I just came back from Tahoe not too long ago and had a wonderful family vacation. I have 3 sons and their wives and grandchildren, and just kind of children after explaining a lot of things, so good place to.
Yeah.
I'm Eric Cameron, I'm the new Deputy Health Compliance Manager. I'm here today because quality has always been a top priority for me. I think we're recommending to make some changes that will result in improved quality. I'd be happy to come to a training for your staff as we discuss. When I think of vacations, I go back to my childhood, and every summer our family went to a different national park. Last then, was Cloudbreaks National Forest, Yosemite. But I remember the original firefall in Yosemite, which was a big deal back in the day, and no longer happens. I'm sad that it doesn't happen because it was awesome to see.
Well, I'm Kevin Thompson. I'm the Deputy Director for Administration, and for the last 7.5 months I've been serving as the interim director. Obviously, both as the administration piece and as the director, I have an interest in compliance to make sure that we're doing things right. As far as vacation, I'm not quite sure what those are.
Well, I went back to childhood.
No, actually, I took a day off last Friday. Went to Fort Bragg and just laid on the beach and relaxed in the ocean.
My name is Colin. I'm Mars Staff Services Analyst, at least another couple of weeks until she's soon. I haven't taken a vacation for a few years, but 2 years ago we went on a family vacation with a TV 10-month-old, and which was a mistake. But my memory is waking up in a queen-size bed, huddled up like a slave at the very end of the bed while a 10-month-old.
That's a good memory.
So that is my good memory.
Maurice, how about you?
What about me?
What's your memory?
About what?
A vacation.
Vacation. This is it. I'm retired.
Every day's a vacation.
What?
Every day's a vacation.
Well, more or less, yeah.
So, and you briefly said that you're interested in the quality improvements.
In the mental health field regarding Lake County and generally because it's atrocious.
Yes.
And something needs to be happening. And I don't see it happening very rapidly. And that we're sinking in that mire of increased need. So yeah, I think it's a serious issue, and it's really not being handled very well in the counties generally. I mean, there was just a report out about 230 county mental jurisdictions that housed mentally problematic criminals, basically. And it's just not being dealt with. They're overwhelmed with the problems, and they don't know how to deal with it. And you got on all levels, whether it's insertion into the system initially by judges, or whether it's directing to them afterwards. There's no very little education in these institutions for mental health issues. So you have just overwhelming issues happening in them. And on all these different levels, whether it's intake, outtake, you have them going back in and then coming back into the system again because they're not dealt with properly in terms of mental health. I'm focusing on that. So that's kind of my concern and interest in hearing about what you call quality control or quality of interest to improve the system.
Today's agenda, and like I said, we're gonna hope to follow it. It might be skewed. My idea of running QI a lot of the times, the most important is not as much to follow the agenda, but to hit the topics that are important to the group. So again, the QI work plan is here to see some of the stuff that is in our EQRO, which is External Quality Review Organization. They come out and do site reviews. They're contracted with the county. So we're going to go over a couple of items what we've given to them and where we can improve on them or how we can improve on them.
Just want to clarify that because we recorded their contract with the state.
They're contracted with the state, not the county. Yeah, the Department of Healthcare Services. So that's some of the key things that we're going to be looking at. Through the site review and the QR work plan, I want us to keep in mind what we learned, what we have to continue to do, and what changes we want to see. As far as group activity, I kind of left that open for a reason because I think it's based on what we're finding important in those areas. And I think that's actually more of a group activity than it is, especially since we're a small group here today. I think that's more important to focus on than an actual activity at this time that takes us away from those, because those are huge subjects to tackle. So they might take a little bit longer. And then use at the time at the end of the meeting is to tie into what was discussed. Anyway, so I'm going to go in and know that Tony gave us a packet of little things here. I think from them, I want to first start off with some of the EQRO items. So I want us to review what we're saying is the significant changes and initiatives that are coming that we reported on for EQRO. Because I think this has a lot to do with, okay, here we are and some of the things that we can change, and even since then, there's been some changes. So I think it's something that we can, I think it's something that we can also focus on. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for coming. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Janet Taylor, and I'm just finishing the contract with FEMA for Full Cal, and that finishes October 14th.
So we're looking at, in the packet there, we're looking at the Lake County Behavioral Health significant changes and initiatives. So some of the things that we reported, and actually I'm glad that Kevin's here as well, because he can tell us the updates of some of the things that has happened with this, because we've got some exciting things that has happened that helped, I think. Large staff turnover this last year. It's been huge. And not as many people on as off, but recently we have hired, 10% more even? Or
Yeah, we were down,
since this was reported.
at the time of this report, it was 46 staff had left during the year, only 20 been replaced. That was at the time when EPR was here. At that time, we were only at like 58% staff. We're now, last time I checked last week, I believe we're at like 62% staff. So it is coming up, but we're still significantly understaffed. And as you read this, you can see additional line staff and highlights what Janet was just referring to. There's actually 10.5 positions for Calhoun, but those go away October 14th. Did you want to continue on this?
If you want, because you probably speak to it better than any of us.
So again, since February until FAIR started, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago?
5
weeks ago, wow, time flies.
I
I'm having fun.
know.
But for about 7 months, we were only running with half of the management team. Out of 6 positions, we only had 3. So now we're up to 4 out of 6. Other changes is we did lose our psychiatrist last July 15th. So for the last year, we've been using a telepsychiatry. That seems to have been working very well. The advantage of that is, the psychiatrist goes on vacation, the psychiatrist is out sick, or we can just get a different provider on the screen and still see clients. So that's actually been an advantage. If you want it, did you want mine or just? I mean, you have it here in front of you.
Yeah.
We created a new intake specialist position. County mental health first, we see significantly mentally ill, and then partnership health, and then their subcontractors, you can see mild to moderates. So we actually have an intake specialist that specifically back and forth. He does the assessments and he says, okay, your SMI, your behavioral health, or if not, then he does the handoff and ensures that they got picked up or we get partnership health. That way we don't have people fall through the cracks. And then I was able to get permission from the county to create alternate schedules so we could better offer 24-hour day crisis coverage. We were having gaps and we were working with part-time employees to cover gaps, and so I've got 12-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts. So now with Lakeport and behavioral health staff, we're covering crisis 24 hours a day.
So that speaks to a lot of changes, and it speaks to a lot of challenges that we've had over this last year. The upside is some of the things that he's mentioned was we have new staff coming, we've got new blood coming through. I'm sorry to say I'm one of the staff, he's like, well, we're up. Okay, we're down. With my leaving, but I see positive things happening with the talk of restructuring and how we're looking at it, which we're not prepared to mention how right now because it's all in talks. But I mean, the ideas that are coming around are fabulous for QI as well as compliance. So. The list of initiatives that probably most affect us, some good things coming. The Veterans Court developing an MOU with them to offer counseling services in our wellness centers. I think that's huge. I think that's a great improvement. I think that'll help a lot. For one thing, the wellness centers, they're more homey, they're more welcoming, I think. Not to say that our own clinics aren't. I think that they give a air of less clinic and more able to meet the veterans where they need to be.
We actually are currently doing for veterans at the wellness center in Lakeport, particularly landlines. So either weekly or twice a month, I remember meeting with veterans actually are doing their own clinic.
Another siren. The sirens are scary. Also working with the courts to establish competency to stand trial evaluation criteria. That's been a hit and miss with us, mainly because of our situations with the doctors, but we're getting that so much more smoother, I believe.
Well,
Let's speak to that as well.
that's one of the other things that probably what Maurice was referring to earlier about in the jail system. We've seen a significant increase in people that are competent to stand trial. I mean, our department went for 6 or 7 years without a staff psychologist.
Yeah.
And then we just were lucky to actually have gotten a psychologist that wanted to work for us. And so we started working with the courts on this more, and then he left to go join the VA up in Reading. So what we've been trying to establish with the courts now is a protocol that would allow LMFT and LCSW, psychologists, with a standardized assessment plan to go in to assess to see if it's due to mental health reasons, whether or not competent, and if it is, ability to restore competency right there in the jail instead of waiting for 6 months to send them to a bed at Porterville or something like that. We're working on training staff. We've already identified a system. We're just getting the courts to approve it so that we can begin restored competency in the jail, hopefully within weeks instead of, languishing for months before you get to go. So we'll get training. So that's what we're working on with the court
waiver, ODS waiver, which is the
Drug
Medi-Cal
organized delivery system.
for treatment services. So that's, I don't know where that stands right now, but I do know that there's,
It's awesome.
yeah,
So they broke it out into 5 different phases. So Lake County, we're part of phase 4, which starts in November for planning and implementation and stuff. But we've actually been working on it for the last 4 or 5 months. We wanted to get a head start. So we've been working with our partners in the community, like Hilltop Recovery Services, clinics who could do medication-assisted treatment. We've been working with regular community services. Because again, the beautiful thing about this waiver is it's going to expand the services that haven't been able to be provided before. It's going to allow for case management. It's going to allow for these different levels of care that have been needed but never paid for by the state before. And obviously, one department can't do it all. So that's why we're reaching out to say, why should I create a residential program that already exists in the county? So we have a partner contract. So again, we're wrapping it around so it's a community approach that better share allocate resources.
and the last one, we got news on since, again, this was in August, I think, was when the QR came. So new things that happened was that the county at this time is not going ahead with exploring merging behavioral health and public health and social services department with the Health and Human Services Agency at this time. That was one of the things that it was like, are they going to, or not going to? And so it was decided at this time it's not as beneficial, but it is a possibility in the future, just not. So those are some of the significant changes in initiatives that we reported on. The next thing that we also reported on, which definitely needs to be taken seriously, reviewed, is our timeliness of services. You can imagine with being as staffed down as we have been, that means that that's going to have an effect on our timeliness and availability. To tell you the truth, I think we're actually still doing a pretty good job, but is it where the actual goals are? What are we hitting our goals? So the first one is initial assessment to the very first service, and that's something that we do take a look at. Our goal is for 10 days, and as you can see, it's at 10.9 days for average. So that's not bad. But when you look at it, the children's services versus adult, the children's services takes a little bit longer. That has reasonings for a lot of them, you know, because this includes the outliers as well. A lot of them have foster care, so there's a lot of times that the paperwork to get services to make sure that the foster care parents have the ability to bring them in, because the holder of privilege is the Department of Child Protective Services. So that sometimes is a hinder. That's something that we've worked with in the past with them, and we're going to continue to do so. Not giving excuses, I'm just saying that's probably a lot of what could be issues that might not let us improve as much. But we do work very closely with them, trying to get all the actors in place and make them, you know, at least make what we can a bit smoother transaction. Where we could definitely improve, where it would be nice, is to see the first psychiatry appointment. With telepsych, it is good. We're doing better than we have been, I believe, at one point. The other hinder is there's not as many slots open, because we can only do what we can do as far as contracting out. And we are often having to deal with the no-show rates and stuff as well, so that can hinder work. This appointment looks at one point of the assessment and then the next point of the actual service, but the in-between stuff that's happening, the reschedules or the no-shows and stuff like that, that has happened and they have to reschedule the appointment. You know, that can be outliers and that can also affect this number. The state, when they're out looking for this kind of information, really is kind of black and white, and they don't see all of the data, they just take this picture. And that's not always all of this data. And there's a lot of things in between that there's reasonings for things that happen. But this is the data that we can provide them. So our goal, our standard goal across the board is for 20 days between the initial assessment, which proves medical necessity to get a doctor's appointment. And so the next thing would be the doctor's appointment. We are at about, for all services, averages at 38, give or take, days. And 20 is our goal, so we are not hitting our goals. That's something that we'd like to see improve. Does anyone have any ideas of, and you can speak up while I'm talking or whichever, and stop me if you have any questions or any ideas, because that's what we're kind of here for, is to capture your ideas and suggestions.
Is there a reason that we don't report on the no-show or the reschedule rate as part of this data?
It's a separate thing, so that we also collect no-show rates, but that's not going to be reflective
In this report?
of the, from this time to this time kind of data. So in other words, if we took all the ones that rescheduled no-show, we don't do that, they don't do that, but we probably could out of all the data that we have.
Do we pull those out of the total number
No,
for the data suite, is what I'm saying?
right,
And we've reported that data.
that type of data.
So that when they see the steps we've taken to improve those no-show rates, like, you know, we call, if we don't get confirmation that, 24 hours before we reschedule or cancel that time because we were wasting all the psychiatrists. So we have that data, but as you said, we only look for that. And say, psychiatry, they don't consider why.
They look at us and go, that's nice.
Or consider.
Right.
Is there a reason why we can't get to psychiatrists?
There's a shortage of psychiatric staff in most rural counties, and we're fortunate that we're able to do telepsychiatry now because that helps control it down. I would imagine as the budget,
For a lot of those
as the budget gets reviewed each year, that's something that could be looked at.
And we are currently using 3 providers. There's a psychiatrist and there's 2 physicians and assistants. So we actually are using 3 providers with this help.
Still not big for that.
Again, it's actually being a lot better because we're controlling better. We're bringing in those things that's helping. And we still have it maybe confirmed, yes, I'm there. We send the driver to go pick him up and we're knocking on the door. And we say, oh, you confirmed you were going to come.
Well, and what I like about, this is all looking into the past. And what I like about this kind of data is it will provide the historical stuff that we're going to need. So I'm really hoping that next year's numbers are going to be improving because of certain things that we put in place. We put them in place because of these numbers. I mean, we're doing something with this data and we're trying to turn it around and we're creating different things to do in attempts to make this number improve. And of course, this number is only representative of what's really happening behind the scenes, because it's not going to also show that all the work that's going in the meantime to get the numbers up is really trying to get the quality care, trying to make sure that we're there clients between these times and making sure, what kind of support can we give them? Can we give them transportation? Can we give them, reminder calls? Can we, what will it take to get them in the doors sooner? So I think these numbers, and you hear it all the time, you're just a bean counter, and it's like, no, it's what's represented into the work that's going to improve these numbers. It's just the work that comes out of everyone to try and make that number go up is amazing. It's a lot of work, and it's good work, but it also means we still need to improve. There were some things that we didn't report out, again, with the staff shortages that we had. There wasn't enough time to collect this data for this. One of those things was to indicate the tracking of specific admissions, total hospitalizations, follow-up appointments. We have the data that we're collecting. It's really hard to get that number skewed down to actually put on this report. It's like this one number represents like the 788. That's 788 things we have to look at to try and get this number. So at this time, we didn't have that number. So hopefully we'll be improving on that with more people that we're hiring. As far as tracking the rehospitalizations, that number we were able to provide, just not adults versus children. It's all cumulative. So the total number of hospital admissions was reported was 788 hospital admissions. Total number of readmissions within 30 days are 32. So that's actually pretty good. That's a really good rate, considering our rate is for hospital readmissions within 30 days is 15%. So that's only 4%. That actually was pretty good.
I think you can go back to number 3 because there is some data here.
Yeah.
The average time for crisis, I would imagine this is reporting
yes.
on crisis services.
I went through that.
From a call to DED is average 1.01 hours, which is really good.
Really good. I'm sorry, I can't believe I forgot that.
The goal is 3 hours. Percent of appointments that met that standard is 91%. Do we have a percentage goal? Like 90%? We'd like to see this 90%.
Well, we'd like to say 100, but
but that's not always
yeah,
feasible.
it's not feasible.
It's not realistic.
It's the standard goal is 3 hours. So we don't have a percentage, but we have 3 hours. As far as the percentage-wise goes, we did not declare one, but we could. That would be good information as well.
Part of it, to clarify, that 1 hour is pretty good. And
It's very
part of it, remember too, is the crisis teams actually stationed at our Clear Clinic. It takes 40 minutes just to get to center. So the fact that the average is, that means they're leaving the clinic within 15 minutes.
That's once a client has been cleared medically, because we're not going to come in until they've been cleared medically.
Well, and even the 91% of appointments meeting the standard is pretty good. I'm just wondering if we, maybe we don't, maybe it's something to look at. Do we have a goal of how many appointments we want to meet that standard?
No, that's what I'm saying. No, might be something we want to look into.
Are you compliance manager might want to?
Yeah, compliance.
You might.
Can you tell me where you have in this pile that number of 784?
So 788 hospitalizations.
Where is that in this?
This is a number, page 2.
Okay.
That is, I'm sorry, here.
Wrong paragraph.
Yeah, the wrong thing. So here, so we want to keep going. 10 minutes right here. Right here, so page 2.
Okay.
Right there.
I was trying to figure out.
You're like, where are you?
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
See, you were late to the party.
I know.
See what happens? But that's okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem. So, yeah, Eric, I think you just gave yourself more work.
You gave me
Congrats.
more.
You brought it up. You're like, okay, so I'm like,
No, you get people
it would be.
settles. I mean, again, hours, that's percentages makes it clear, so.
Yeah, well, and
There's actually two goals that could be evaluated or looked at in terms of the standard in this section. And one is the average length of time for an urgent appointment, and we've got that. And the other is what percentage of the total number of appointments. And I'm believing that this 91% means that 91% of the calls met the 3 hour
yes,
standard.
that's exactly what it is. That's one thing that's a report, if you want to talk about a big report. Kevin initiated this report when he was on the crisis team. He was the crisis team lead. And it's a good report. I use that a lot for EQRO. Every time I do, I get just pride because it shows how much work is going in, not only to build the report, because this is all the crisis team's work and what that represents. And again, here's another thing where it's like you're looking at numbers, and that is showing more than just numbers. It's showing the quality of services and the quality of things that are happening. And it shows the not such quality if it's not there. And I think it's a really good representation of the work that we're doing.
The other thing a report can't show is the relationships too.
Yeah.
It's been rocky at times with the hospitals and law enforcement and stuff, but I would say over the last few years it's been a good relationship because everybody's doing their part and acknowledging each other's part. Like I said, it's 1 hour, hospitals are really happy, law enforcement's happy, so it's been a lot, not just on our end, but like the partnerships with hospitals, the partnerships with law enforcement, all of this, it's been a success.
I wonder if I could ask a couple of extra questions. First of all, these numbers, 780, these are in that category called severely mentally ill.
These are 5150.
5150. And what is the funding for this process? For this process,
For
this
this one.
QI process, is this MHSA money
No.
No, QI fund is out of our real line.
out of your real line? Okay.
For the QI.
Oh, yeah, okay, but that has to be.
QI, a little bit out of our managed care, but
The-
it's out of our real line.
The QI is not, it's bigger than an HSA, it's the whole department.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because you are dealing with that particular segment of the population, which is that category 5150. And so I realize that's the one that causes all the heartburn with all the other agencies. We get that. Well, no, my third question is this, are you a participant in the operating area work group, or whatever that is, for the emergency management system? That's for the hospitals and the public health department,
Yeah.
fire districts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we worked with them for years.
Yeah, I figured. So,
Mark was doing us all that.
so a lot
A lot of data sharing back.
yeah, a lot of what I'm seeing is this building, this cooperative relationship between those agencies.
We've actually, because of that collaboration, we've actually wrote new 51, I shouldn't say new, but had updated 5150 protocols and timeliness that the state actually has approved and actually changed a couple things on 5150 law because of not just the local work group like that, but throughout the state, those work groups reporting to the state, and they've actually working on changing 5150 law.
And does the public or the recipients of these services, do they have a means of complaining, making complaints about that process?
Great response.
So they agree with the process?
And even the state, if they're not happy with the local grievance process, and they have state court hearings, they also have the state of Benson that they can report to. And trust me, though, Benson is right on the phone with us if you get a call. I've been the recipient of those calls.
Well, and there are certain specified timeframes that we have to respond to a grievance that we have to adhere to.
when a grievance comes in, we only have one business day to respond, at least acknowledging the grievance.
And is the government code that describes that process, the grievance process? Does
Uh,
it, what I really want to know is, does it specify who is qualified or who is eligible to make a complaint? Or is the complaint, will they? Anybody can complain.
Yeah, and they can even have representatives if they don't want to directly complain, they can name a representative for them.
Okay. So that's the kind of thing that is helpful. I can talk about this on the radio and let people know these kinds of things. So, you know, if you want to take the time to be on the radio or take calls or, you know, get this information out there, you're more than welcome to join me on KPXA.
If I'm not mistaken, Kevin, I think we have to post our grievance process on our website.
I'm talking about communicating with the people
No,
who
I
listen
get that.
to the radio.
I understand.
These are the people that call me on a frequent basis about what do I do? And just what do I do about X, Y, Z? It doesn't matter. But this particular issue, of course, right now is doubly sensitive for me because of the situation that you're handling and doing a great job with. But the other side of it is our huge unknown number of people that are not receiving care because there's just no services for them. And so, you know, just be able to explain, a lot of what I do is explain the limitations that are placed on an agency or organization. Right. Because like the American Red Cross, everybody thinks they're going to come in here and fix everything. They're not going to come in here and fix everything. They have specific tasks they're funded to do. Then they have to leave. I mean, so.
We've also, you know, we also have a privacy rights advocate that also can take some grievances.
A privacy rights advocate,
A patient's rights advocate.
not privacy, but
Patient's rights advocate.
But that's different than
That's
someone
different than-
not a patient is.
Well, if someone's not a client of ours, then I usually try to help refer them. Like there's been some times that they've had complaints directly against a hospital or something, so I try to get them hold of a hospital and work with them and find their patient rights advocate and or whoever can assist them with their grievance because you know, because we're connected.
Sure.
I think, okay, I can grieve to them. I can put my complaints into them. And it's like, but we don't have anything to do with the hospital's quality,
Sure.
so we can only address to our crisis workers or whoever's out there. But we don't just go, oh, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
You know, we try to make sure that
That's
they
crucial.
have something.
That's really crucial,
Yeah.
because what we've been trying to deal with here for the last, probably, I've been doing this for 11 years, is that, you know, turf war, siloing, you know, kick a can over to the next agency, and then nothing will be solved.
Well, it's not, especially if it's coming from a client of ours, it's not going to help the client if they can't complain to the right person.
Oh, for sure.
And if anything else, I know that after I talk to people, who they usually talk to, you know, if I can ease their mind at one point or another, there's oftentimes all they need to do is vent and be heard and and know that I'm listening and know that I'm going to be reporting it to the proper people that can actually do something about it or whichever. So we'll get into the MSRO report that I actually just did this week. I did literally, I think 2 days ago, entered it into the state. So actually it was kind of a
That's pretty fascinating. I work with the ombudsman program for the skilled nursing facilities, and by the way, my name is Betsy Connor.
I think we
Are you Laura?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I do work with a lot of seniors. I work with a lot of senior centers and outreach people, Meals on Wheels, you know, contacts that little fragile connection with those home-care folks. And, you know, typically their capacity for even understanding who goes to food in this family is almost nil, let alone knowing that there's somebody to go to. So just ordinary people call me on a daily basis, how do I X, Y, Z?
Right.
You know, and knowing that there is this availability, I think it makes a lot of difference for people.
Great. I think we have one more, on page 3, you'll see the, do we track no-shows? Yes, we do. So this leads into what Eric was asking. So what we track is for the no-show rates for the doctor and for our initial intakes and for our RDHDs, which are recent discharge, high triage clients who really need to be seen like right away. They can't wait the 10 days until the initial appointment. They need to get in. Often they have been in the hospital the night before. They might not have been deemed 5150, but they need some services right away. And the ones that are coming out of the hospitals, we try to see them. They have a better success rate if we see them right away as much as possible. We try to see them often the same day that they're coming out. As long as we know that they're coming out, we have a discharge planner who works really well with all the hospitals. She's on first name basis with everybody. She tries to make sure that she's calling them every day.
That's what it takes.
And it does. A lot of follow-up. A lot of follow-up. But also we'll provide transportation back home. And sometimes there's times that we provide transportation directly to the clinics prior to them going home, just to make sure that they have that follow-up services, get a plan in place so they can be taken care of. So, again, she does a lot of work. It's a lot of talking with communicating with the hospitals and communicating with the families and communicating with the
And this is the person who works for you?
Yes. Lori Brock, she's awesome. So we have, like I said, our no-show rates. So I kind of lumped together the intakes and the RDHTs as far as the average no-show rate for clinicians and non-psychiatrists. So the all services are at 13% from what it looks like. This does not look right. These numbers do not look right for some reason. I'm going to have to check on that number because it doesn't add up to the adults and the children. For the adults, no-show rate is at 38%, and for the children, it's 43% rate. For the standard goals, it's 30%, so we're still high. We're still running that high number for no-show rates. For the standard for just the psychiatrist, it's 15, but we have 30%, and for the we have 40% for the psychiatrist, where our goal is for only 15%. So again, pretty high, and that's including, like Kevin was saying, it's like we're trying to create these slots. The telesite has been helpful, and this history, like I said, this is 15, 16, so 16, 17, with all the things that we made changes to, it'll be interesting to see that number, see where we're at. So that's something that mid-year would be a good thing to take a look at, so we can see the improvement.
Do you guys look at these no-shows and look at whether they've been in the system a long time, had a lot of frequent, events, that kind of thing, just triage in the worst case scenario?
Yeah, Betsy, there's a lot of, we look at stuff like that, and one of the things we do is we generate a high utilizing report to say, 10% of people are using 80% of their services.
Exactly.
Why? So then we target those specifically to track that.
Pain centers.
Yeah.
Checking those pain
So
centers.
these are all things we're working on. I'm not saying we've got it down to the exact science yet.
No,
These are
but you're
things we've
doing the right
recognized over the
stuff.
last couple of years. And even like this with the psychiatrist, one of the things I wanted to bring up is, like Marta said, this is for fiscal year 15, 16. So this would have been July 15th through June 2016. Well, July 1st is when our psychiatrist left and came on board. And during the first year, we swapped health psychiatry company piece too. So there was a lot happening in that year.
Exactly.
So now that we're more stable things are happening in telepsychiatry because we've been with this, the majority of the glitches are finally smooth, I think. Or, you know, the ones that we can control, which control is an illusion. Always. You switch and somebody, you know, leaves or something, so, you know, you have to be careful of that. No, but the support for the telepsychiatry has become a lot more stable as well. We have 2 case managers for the telepsychiatry that they've cleaned up so much stuff and so many of the problems, and they really try to prepare the client before they're being seen. So it just makes the process so much more smooth. So this will be very interesting to see next year. Very interesting to see where we're changing.
And how amenable are people to this psychiatry stuff? I mean, are you dealing with a generation of people that really does have smartphones and where you are and stuff?
I think there's a happy mix. I mean, I think there's the kids respond to it much better. I mean, I'm not really sure to tell you the truth. I know that they know better than I do. So, I'm not information, so I can't speak to that for sure. But I do know that they are a little bit more with it. I think it's more I do really think that it's getting a good response. I think it's being done more and more throughout the state. I mean,
Oh, I know it's
so
being
people
done.
are responding to it better, and I think once they see that they can get their medications filled, they can get the support that they need, and still, you know, it's not just a doctor in a box anymore like it used to be. They're actually getting services that they, you know, that they're requesting. Whereas, and like you said, a lot less cancellations because a doctor's sick or somebody's
I'm just
out.
thinking you need an app for that.
No.
You need somebody that's going to give this kid a reminder every morning, you know, just take your meds, be sure and check your appointments.
I have a question. With the telepsychiatry, do clients have the option of Skyping with them off their phone?
No.
Currently, we're just coming to the clinic and then using the software that we can use at the clinic. Because then they've got the case manager to follow up, the doc is telling the case managers, might even be hooking the prescription into the pharmacy, so by the time the client leaves their prescription's already at the pharmacy. So the case manager is part of the schedule. Versus if they were doing that at their house on a tablet, then we wouldn't know what's going on to help them.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, it helps them, it just makes the process smoother, and I think it's better quality care for the client.
I don't know if I should say this or not, because again, ideas playing with them. We hadn't taken any action, but I've actually thought kind of a hybrid idea, but it would be the case manager going to the house with an iPad or something like that, so we could assist. It's just, we have the bots there to do it, we just haven't.
Well, you don't have the staff, for God's sakes.
Exactly.
You know, my heart breaks for you all.
But what I'm trying to say is I acknowledge that that's a really good idea, and I thought of it about 9 months ago, but I just haven't.
I just thought for those clients that are very hard to, you know, they're limited as far as their transportation or maybe their disability or
Well, the
something like
transportation
that.
piece isn't an issue for you over there.
Right, but you know.
But someone's on the comfort of their own home, maybe they got
Right.
some social anxiety.
Exactly.
And stuff, and so it is definitely an idea I would like to play with, I just have to have staff.
Yeah, for sure. That and we have to make
So
sure
on
that
the
it's.
radio program,
Yeah.
8%.
You know, one of the reasons I came is because I wanted to go to the mental health board meeting about a week ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And there's no communication with that board, and I just finally sent an email to the assistant clerk of the board of supervisors to find out how to reach them. But being able to talk about these things on the radio, I believe is crucial. Janet and I for years program up until she became part of the FEMA, disaster relief services for the peer counseling thing. She's not on the radio with me now. But this is a lot of what we do try to do, because the radio has a listener base that is among some of the most illiterate people I have met. But it doesn't mean they don't hear. They hear. They may not be able to report, but they hear. And they have friends and neighbors, and they're all out there groping around trying to figure out, how to deal with the bus transportation system or how to get assistance. And the intimidating structure of government and, the whole process is just such a barrier for people to get through. I love being able to say, hey, this is a system that has people, that have these concerns. Anytime you guys want to do that. Anytime.
How'd you do your voice?
Well, you hear my voice, that's something I do.
Well, that's serious. I'm really serious. This is the purpose of what our programs are intended to do for public education and outreach, and on support of the community. I think it's really important for people to understand the limitations you face, the things that you're focusing on, the kind of problems. I love talking about solving problems. This interagency, emergency services relationship. We know how crucial that is. And the hospital, we're working in a hospitalization program and interagency with the fire districts. The fact that the evacuation of that hospital was just golden.
Amazing job,
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Willie Cepeda rocks. You know what I mean? But it's all of this is being done, and I've seen you guys systematically, take those crucial elements and try to formulate ways to help people actually handle that.
Betsy, I want to just say that I really appreciate you acknowledging that, because I think behind the scenes there's a lot of good things that happen that often get overlooked.
They get overlooked, and also there's this bizarre overlay of you can't talk about it. And I cannot tell you how many caring county employees that I interface with on an ordinary basis who can't talk about it. And that's not mentally healthy. You can't, as James Baldwin said, nothing can be solved that can't be faced. What you guys have done is this magnificent piece of work in spite of the opposition. I won't say that on the radio, okay?
We're being recorded. Just not politely. Okay, this brings me to also, we were talking about the grievances. And since I just did this and I reported it to the state, I wanted the QI committee to take a look at what we're reporting. And this is the fiscal year 15-16 grievances. It's kind of like what are the type of issues that we're reporting on. So this year we've had 17 grievances to report on. We never had to have an appeal. No one's ever asked for an appeal. No one's ever asked for an expedited appeal. Thank you. Also, we haven't had any state fair hearings. So I have not been able to. I'm like, okay,
So you've been able to resolve that.
we've been pretty much able to resolve them
Which is
at the local level.
That's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Don't cost me much.
We're trying. There's, and like I said, when I get a grievance, I have to acknowledge it within 1 day's work as much as I can, or I have a notice of action. I give out a notice of action if I can't do it within that 1 day. I haven't had any grievances on the notice of actions, complaining about the notice of action, so you'll see there's blank in that section. We haven't had any grievances from
A notice of action, in other words, you received a grievance and you...
We something right. Or if there has been a denial of something, so in other words, if, say, a hospitalization, if there was a denial
Of service.
of services based on medical necessity or whatever, we have not had anyone complain about that.
There's like 5 different categories, like some of it's time limit, so, we're supposed to do January 10 days, but if it's 11, I have to send a notice of action.
It's like a boil.
I apologize
I
for
know.
acknowledging that, yes, we didn't meet the standard in this as well.
And the back of the notice of action is actually a big important piece because that will explain the state fair hearing process. So that gives them their rights to take it to the next level.
Is that available on the website?
Mark and I were just
Yeah, we're
discussing
just
this.
discussing it.
I would have to look at that too.
I think
Yeah.
the grievance process.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what the grievance process is on the website someplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just need to verify that.
Yeah, we don't
I'm
want to
trying to
say
visualize
anything
like
about that.
Yeah, I'm sure I
It's
can
the
see-
fourth link down.
You see all the links rolling before your eyes.
Let's just put it this way, if not, it very well will soon be.
Again,
Because no, it's good, it's information to have. We have not been able to have as active website as we would like. I think again, the shortness of people. We now are actually for our BSAs, we're pretty fully staffed, so that's something that we can look into.
it's not really important.
No, to tell you the truth, it is important though,
Well-
because again, I mean, that information it should be accessible. People should know about it. How are you going to know about it? We do have brochures, we do have, things like that, explaining it in our brochure. Yeah, and the patient's rights for posters and everything. We have those.
And it's all translated in Spanish.
Yes.
And it's all available at the box.
Yes.
I have confirmed this.
Okay.
I'm sure you have.
So anyway, yeah, so I'm like, that's something to be more proactive with, and they are doing more and more on getting the resources available. So anyway, types of things that we have had issues with, well, 2 of them, it looks like we've had access issues. Those ones are, they're not getting what they need apparently. We've had the staff behavior concerns, there's been 6 of them. So what I do with the staff behavior concerns is we make sure that the supervisors notify and it takes it to another level. We do that as well. They're usually supervisory issues. The treatment issues or concerns, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that. Whether or not they're adequate, if it's been determined that they even qualify for it. Looks like medication concerns for 3 of them. That I know stems from short staff and the whole telepsych thing when we were going through all the transitions. I think that's going to be, again, something to look for next year. It's going to be nice to see the start of how it's a little bit smoother.
Additional questions. You guys have made an incredible start on the beneficial path.
Yeah.
No questions.
So I guess there's some tours going on, so we are going to have people come in just to walk around and see the volumes of, so just let you know there are going to be.
They can get part, I wonder if they're going to have anything to contribute. We really are a public meeting. Please, grab a tambourine where you're No, they were not. It was actually at one time a grapefruit, Financial was another one. You gave me a bill on Medi-Cal, and I was like, okay, well, I remember this one because it was like, okay, well, you accidentally got a bill. You don't have to pay it. It's okay, put it down and walk away. So that was one of them. So those are the type of grievances that come. So I just wanted to give you a snapshot of that. And again, we're getting low on time, so I really want to tackle the QI work plan for 16-17, because like I said, which you two might not have heard this in the beginning, once we take a look at this, then we can put it on the website. So the 15-16 one is on the website, this one is 16-17. And you'll notice I have tables in here, and they're blank because it's just now October. So now we can start getting.
Well, we also want to provide current data.
Right. So
It's too radical.
Yeah.
It's just too radical. I'm sorry, you guys.
Calm down.
You're not performing the standards
so
Otherwise, Margot will be grievance. Your dad is not.
I got 3 more weeks. Three more weeks. Get those grievances in so I have something to do, or else I'm just going to be twiddling my thumbs until I leave.
You might find one for her.
I've seen her twiddling her thumbs.
Have you ever? Yeah. That hasn't been an issue lately. So anyway, to briefly go through this, and you can take these home with you. I want you to take these home with you. And if you have anything that you're questioning or something, give us a call. We can talk it over a little bit more. There's a lot of backgrounds. The first couple of sheets pages are background stuff, but it does give an overview of the quality improvement coordinator and the committee, which is you guys. One of the things already that's going to be changing is that how we're going to be setting up our quality improvement committee meetings. Because our internal staff that is working on these reports and stuff, we're going to be setting up, I should say, you're going to be setting up where we're going to be meeting monthly on that to do the work so we can bring it to the committee. So, so that's how we're going to be setting up some of those. So that's a little bit of a change that's already happened since I've done this document. This document was also presented to the EQR as an external quality review organization.
Is that a contracted?
That is state contracted. They do site reviews
They go to all
annually. They go to all counties. And their reports are on their website. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
So if you go into
Our report to this county then would be on the.
Correct.
yeah, we have not yet received our final report from them yet. So we're looking forward to that. They were just here, like I said, I think in August. I know they're all blurred right now. There's been so many different site reviews that we've had to deal with.
And then when the state comes in Department of Healthcare Services to do any of their own audits, they reference their data.
So the state, when they come, that's their state. So they take a look at the other stuff. So they rely on the EQRO to take a look at the quality as it's happening. And then, so they're like, you do that part, we'll do this part, but we're still going to look at that part and take their recommendations. So, they're all working together. Go ahead, instance.
It's just a miracle.
So anyway, this is our QI work plan. It does outline what we do, what we're about. It outlines why we do this plan. The significant changes, like we discussed in here, and objectives. So the objectives is something that's pretty interesting to look at. I mean, you want to know what are we doing here, why do we need to do it, kind of thing. So we're like, some of them are the MSR process, which is the grievance process. MSR is Member Services Resolution Officer. That's me. And I need to make sure that, like it says, review the appeals within 1 day. Monitor and review state fair hearings, which we have. That's been the easy part. I keep a log. I review them, review the grievances, and report out to the necessary people that needs it to be reported out to help me investigate and or come to a resolution. That could be supervisors, that could be Kevin, that could be, however we can come up to a resolution. And then I have to follow up. I have to write to the follow up, and I like to do things in writing. I think it's a huge benefit for the client because they're not going to remember what's going on all on the phone call necessarily. You're not going to know word for word, but if you have a document that you're looking at and say, they said this, here it is in black and white. I think that's beneficial to us all.
And just for your info, the timeframes that are identified there, we already last Friday, change.
On the same page or?
Page 3, at the very bottom.
Recently,
We have to follow up to the member within where it says 45 days.
it's now 30 days.
It's now 30 calendar days.
And specifically calendar working days.
Calendar days.
Calendar.
Yeah.
Well, it gets a little better. For grievances and appeals, and where it says within 33 working days for expedited appeals, it's now 72 hours.
But again, waiting 72 hours.
72 continuous hours.
So regardless of whether it's a work day or not.
Correct.
They submitted on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday count.
So here's the problem. I went to the regional meeting last Friday. One of the glitches in that is what if somebody says 4 o'clock the day before Thanksgiving?
Right.
Where you've got 4 days off.
I know that.
You really
know that.
So, this is still a little bit of a work in progress, but right now this is the way.
But again, this is where like those NOAs coming up that we ever say that it took us 4 days to respond because
Right.
it was,
The notice
we can justify the law. But that's just it. We set the
with our luck, it's the fires.
And actually, I noticed that was actually mentioned in this text here, and it was amazing how many organizations are doing this work. I understand the careful prescribed cast here, but I do hope you can help us understand what the process is.
I believe, we'll do what we can. And again, this will be on the website. And from the website, if anyone wants to ask these questions, we're open to answering them, obviously.
That's really good. A lot of what I get is that there's no place to refer people to.
It seems like
Get out my resource directory here.
it seems like if anybody calls up to the front office, they always refer to you anyway. If it has anything to do with grievances or QI or compliance.
That's what that means.
Yeah. So, and which is good because unlike the front office, I mean, they're getting other phone calls and stuff and saying that I'm not, but I can take the time to stop and try to talk to them a little bit easier than the people that are on the front line. And I can say, let me get back to you if I don't know the answer, and investigate it. So that's one of the things that we do, and I don't know anybody in the department that would do that. We also look at requests for transfers for services for as far as people providing. That has a lot to do with MSRA too. They pretty much go through as far as getting the request to get going.
Sure.
And or they need any help as much as we can. As resources allow, and that is key words when you're short-staffed. I mean, if we only have one doctor and we try to get a different doctor, it's like more than likely not gonna be able to help you, because we only got one, you know. So, that's a huge one, but we do log them and take a look at those. Again, timeliness and access to services are huge. We take a look at that as the QI committee. We look at the different subcommittees. Cultural competency committees is a part of this committee. Special incidents and subcommittees, or the special incidents.
Page 4,
Page 4.
Okay.
last section.
Thank you.
And
keeping up with what she said.
okay.
Okay.
So special incidents, it doesn't meet on a, it's not one of those regular meetings. It happens as events occur. So, but we do log the unusual occurrences. Medication monitoring, that is a regular meeting every 3 months. I'm happy to report that we have had a really steady pharmacist contract with them, and he reviews about 20 charts a quarter, but also, like, he was just here last week, and we don't have that information yet. We will be having that. Every once a year, he reviews the med rooms and sees what's the issues there. The medication rooms.
Make sure we're in compliance, meds are being stored properly, they're, all the processes are correct.
The locks are on the doors, the Sharpies are.
Maintains medication rooms.
But we have medical staff.
Oh, you have medication.
Right, because clients are coming in for pill boxes for them and stuff like that, and so giving us pharmacists when there's reviews, you make sure that we're handling them correctly, restoring them.
Yeah.
Protocols.
And logging everything, because like daily, things need to be logged. The temperature of the refrigerators,
Temperature of the room.
temperature of the room. The in and out of the medications, what's coming in, what's coming out, all those types of things.
It is just like.
It is just. So that's another thing. Page 5, we participate in the annual program reviews. That's about 90% of what I've been doing this whole entire year. I've been either getting prepared for audits, dealing with the audits, or the aftermath of them. And it's been, we had a slew of them. Literally, all at once. We had our triannual review last year. During all of the reviews that were coming in, that kind of gave them a report after 11 months of their review. They gave us a report, and then we had to address that. Happening at the same time, we've had 6 reviews for drugs, for DUI, drug Medi-Cal, and then the monitoring, the SAFTI grants and site certifications. Then we also had our EQR. So literally for the last year, this is what I've been doing.
Literally, one of the meetings we had DHCS come out for, I think it was DUI. That team had gotten in the car. I don't even think they'd gotten around the corner yet from the building. And DHCS was scheduled, and they're telling us to schedule the next audit. I'm looking at the tail lights of your team and it's just here.
Seriously.
Well, this is the reign of the bean counters.
Yeah.
There's a whole level of job security that is generated by these bonds
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff that,
And I'm not saying, audits are good, site reviews are good, all at once, not so good. But, they're good. They help us, they not only help us keep us in line, but they help us they support us.
Well, they prove that you're doing what you said you were going to do, and that's crucial.
And they also make recommendations. for
Yeah.
improvement.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they do.
And it takes some of our input to change it on there, not just them wanting us to change, but they actually listen to us and then change things. So, I mean, it is a working relationship.
It is. They used to be scary. They still can be, but they used to be scary, and now they've turned and changed their approach towards the counties. And instead of saying, you didn't do this, they're more like, hey, how can we help you do this?
Exactly.
And so you can't mark that.
And
Unfortunately,
no, and then that lets you leverage the funding that's available to help you do that,
Right.
which is what they want you to
Right.
do, because that's more money for them. So, that works out, everybody gets to solve the problem.
right, as long as it leads to better quality for the care. My idea. So the honesty here of some of the things that why, staff shortage is important and what we haven't been able to do is the performance improvement projects. We're supposed to have 2 ongoing at all times. We don't right now. That's something that we're going to be,
Section in here?
that is page 5. You can see a blank.
Oh.
That's something that we're going to be beefing up very soon. We're looking forward to doing that. It takes staff. It takes the ability to take the time to create a lot of baseline reports. It takes the creativity of the QIC to see what they would like, to get their suggestions. And then for the QIC to monitor how we're doing with those. So when we start these projects, we need to make sure that it affects the client. And we have to have one clinical PIP and one non-clinical PIP. So the non-clinical PIP is like administrative ideas of how we can make improvements. And then we have to make sure that we have the outcomes, we have a baseline, we have goals, and we have, indicators that are hitting to make sure that it's really an improvement.
Well, what about the problem with getting staff? I mean, is that not something that would benefit everybody? Can that be a project?
Administrative, yeah.
That could be our administrative PIP.
Yeah.
Surely,
And I find it-
I have lived here for 16 years. I saw the demise of the public health department. I've seen the rape of the behavioral department. I've seen the social services dilemma that they have with aging problems, all these things. When does that issue become a mental health problem? Can we do that? Can we talk about it?
Well, the thing too is, all those departments are working together. I work with public health, I work with social services all the time.
That's not what I said. I understand they're all working together, but they all are not getting staff.
But part of what it is, I'll be honest, is the small rural community. I don't know how many staff I have lost because they come work for us because they get that rural thing. So they work for 2 years and then they get all these hours, this, now I'm a trained professional, and they go to San Francisco, $50 an hour more.
Fire districts going through the same thing. A huge influx, a huge percentage of their EMTs and firefighters are trainees that just came out of the.
We're the training ground for the big cities.
Well, I understand that. Why can't we get more trainees? Why can't we somewhere there is a linchpin to this staffing issue.
Once you ask the question, maybe somebody out there who knows.
You guys,
I think she wants you to show, you were taught to literally show up and then you can imagine all these people calling you with these creative ideas.
No. I won't ask that question on the radio. I'm serious. Over the years, I've certainly seen, the treatment of employees by the county. I've seen the salary rates. I've seen the rural environment issues. I mean, if it's a rural environment issue, I know that the Adventist Hospital is working aggressively to recruit through the Adventist system, and I mean aggressively.
A lot of it, being a small, poor county, is the resources. And so, you might get somebody who's getting ready to retire. Oh yeah, I'll go slow down and take a pay cut. But a lot of the people are like, okay, I can come to Lake County and work for $20 an hour. I can go to Sonoma and make 45. Sometimes they don't do all the correlation. Yeah, but your house is only $150,000.
So we did the analysis
But we
and shown that.
But we try to do that. If you look at a lot of the brochures and you talk about, the low cost of house, so we do try to sell a whole picture. But a lot of times you're dealing with people who are just going, I can make $30 an hour more. So.
No, I understand.
And I can tell you also from I've been with the county for 6 years, and I can tell you that the process to get hired with the county originally is really a pain in the butt.
It's horrible.
You know,
Let me
it's-
tell you something, how many people I know have tried to apply, qualified people, highly qualified people, and they just, you know, this, I don't know, dealing with this.
Well, it's a tedious process, you know, I applied probably for my original position in January, February, and by the time I got hired and started, it was November.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a long process.
And by that time, you've taken another job offer. I mean, you go, hey, I don't need to work.
I know, exactly, and a lot of people do that, and so, you know, that's, I would think, an issue that needs to be taken up with the board of supervisors.
All I'm trying to do is raise the spectrum of this larger issue, of why we are not doing innovative quality improvement on our recruiting and retention
Right.
of staff.
And as a, well, only interim, but as a county department head, I can tell you that that is something that the department heads have been discussing, and that's department meetings going, got to.
I'm sure.
And the CEO's on board, people on board, it's just, you still deal with the resources.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue, so I want to get through this so we can actually post it on our website, but yeah, keep bringing up questions and comments. Another thing we do, patients, monitor customer satisfaction. So that's something that this committee does. We have different ways of doing that. One of the different ways of doing that is about to come up and happen November. What was it, I can't remember so something like that, yeah. So we have our consumer perception surveys that are done from the state. Twice a year, they tell us you got to do these consumer perception surveys. So we do it, and we try to make sure that we have a good enough sample. We have the front office desk asking absolutely everybody that comes in for 1 week's worth of time, because that's the time that they give us to take these surveys. One of the areas that has improved, I mean, it's difficult to get the surveys done, because I don't know about you, how many people love taking surveys?
I do.
Great, great. You're the only, that's literally 1 out of what, how many people are here?
Betsy never hesitates to give her opinion.
So trying to get them to take them is half the battle. So we have actually totally improved that over the last couple of times.
What's your return rate on the number of times you can ask people who are providing information responsibility?
Well, like, we're only talking about a week, and we don't really, we don't write down how many times, but we do write down, we do make sure that if they declined and everything. So this last time, out of 61 that we've asked, 36 of them actually came in, and that was a huge improvement.
I bet.
Yeah, the previous year 2 times, not just 1 time. Like I said, it happens every 2 years, I mean, 2 times a year, was a total of 9, and that's between both clinics. So to see the 36, I was like, yes, and to see, yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the phenomena I find on a variety of subjects here with surveys, we've had quite a few because of the fires and everything. People sense no use in providing a response. We've just burned too many people, with these surveys. And then some of them make no sense. And so I get the kind of cynicism that people respond to questions.
Well, and this one's long. It's not a one-page.
I think our department is doing a good job of increasing the credibility.
Oh, you bet.
People, hey, you really did listen to me.
Yeah.
Because we had an innovation project that went on, there was an 18-month, two-year project. And we looked at all the wellness centers, we looked at the clinics, and people gave inputs, and they like, you really made the changes, and we asked you to do it.
Right.
Not put it right. I did this, I did that, put up signage. People are like, you really listen. And
Yes.
so now I think people know
Makes a huge difference.
to
makes a huge difference. It's accessibility to people.
It's making the environment that you're walking into, a very uncomfortable environment that you're walking into,
Exactly.
you know, to open.
Yeah.
The hardest doors to walk through, they really are. You're asking for help on something that you can't handle, or that you know, it's hard doors.
Or that you feel embarrassed.
Exactly.
Oh,
And it's trying to reduce that fear is, we're not going to help anybody if they don't open those doors. So that's important. So when he says changing the environment, making those little bit of changes, it's whatever it takes to get the people in the door as much as possible. So anyway, that's one of the things we do. We also, I take every grievance. I don't just take the Medi-Cal ones. The only ones I have to report on is the Medi-Cal ones, but I don't just take the Medi-Cal ones. I take them all. I try to treat them the same timelines. I try to treat them the same respect. Other ways, we have suggestion boxes in the lobbies. Don't get a lot of play on those, but I do get some, you know. Let's see, other things, we have the different contracts, the DHCS contract and EQRO items that we're required to do. So, out of that, to go to page 7, we're going to start doing, I want to start looking at some of the goals that we have. And these are ones that really try to pinpoint our focus. You're talking a lot of goals, so a lot of times the goals that we have actually aren't even written in this, but I wanted to capture at least.
And so on page 7, item B, those numbers will change every 30 days and 72 hours.
Yes.
Yes,
Selecting that other
exactly.
section that you.
Exactly.
30 calendar days.
Literally, you told me, what,
Yeah,
2 days ago?
Yeah, this is a notice of this.
Well, I'm an editor, okay?
No.
If it says so on page 3, it means it says so on page 12.
Yeah.
No.
So like you said, we're in the process of changing all those bits.
Sure, I just checking for my own brain.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is definitely a work in progress, this document. So some of the goals is like the MSRO, we want to make sure that, you know, I'm paying attention to them, I'm doing my job, logging them. As you said, the response to them, the 30 days, that changed.
Right.
The NOAs for the standard, the time frames, things are being done. But no NOAs, remember, is notice of action, when we're not doing things, as far as these ones, when we're not doing things that we want to make sure that they're receiving that information. The transfer requests, those logs are being logged. We want to make sure that 100% of the requests are coming through. Conducting the quarterly med monitoring reviews and meetings. Like I said, our pharmacist just came out just last week to review the charts, and our first meeting will be coming up later on this next month, I believe. I don't remember which day. But he's right now currently writing up our report. He'll be sending a report. One recent thing that changed a little bit, I believe, is that he will not be physically coming to the meetings, but he'll be on conference call. Because he was living here in Lakeport and physically coming to the meetings, and now he just moved to Concord. So, but he's not going to give up. He wants to continue this. And he's been doing it for the last 3 years, I think. Doing a great job. I mean, he really puts a lot of information into the reports, a lot of different charts and details.
So this is actually a biochemical analysis of what the treatment is that's being administered.
He's a pharmacist,
Right.
so he's monitoring all those pharmacy activities.
Right. Because people get multiple compounds in their bodies and they interact and a bunch of stuff like that is really.
He's not looking at that so much as he is menu set up correct? Is the
So
documentation?
this is the patient oriented, this is
Yes.
This is
system
system oriented, yeah.
But he is looking at, is the doctor documenting correctly? That makes sense.
Right.
You know, I talked to put him on that, but I mean, he is looking at things.
That's the part that I run into with older people. Well, I run into this commonly with just ordinary older people who don't realize, oh, I've been taking NyQuil for 30 years and all of a sudden, their blood pressure's, whatever it is. And we just automatically go to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist will, every pharmacist I know will stop and take time to look at your medication regimen.
And if he does see a medication that in his mind doesn't make sense, he's going to look for the documentation
That's right.
that justifies.
That's right. And so this is really a very cutting edge sort of thing.
Right, and that's what I just said, he's on it. He caught a couple of things that we basically worked with it. Like you were talking about that transition period, right about the time he did a review, benzodiazepine. He raised a flag right about the time I went, oh my gosh, you're right about that same time that new psychiatry comes up, why are you people on? But,
So many of them.
So,
Well, and then there's the medical versus the mental care.
so what I'm getting at is, he was paying attention to that, and he didn't even have to call the psychiatrist on because the new psychiatry comes like, whoa. So, but again, hearing it from this different perspectives, again, we really do have a problem here.
It helps us address the issues that need to be.
Oh, yeah, I mean, some of it's just people get too many screwed up medications, and
Yeah.
then they get out of whack, and nobody understands what's going on.
And like Derek was saying, that's one of the things he's looking at too, is interactions.
That's what I mean.
These two should be there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's a really, really common thing.
Yeah.
So another thing is that, like we were saying, the increase of the biannual consumers perception surveys. As you can see, May of 2015, we had 9 surveys. Well,
Do families get to participate in these?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
so in November 2015, we had 18, so we went up. And in May 2016, we had 31 surveys go through as far as that the state said, yes, these are the ones that we are going to focus on. So it's been really good. It's going up and up and up. And so we're about to beef up for next month, having another round of these.
Well, let's do some promotion on them, because, I mean, really, I remember when this whole process was inaugurated, and what you were grappling with, this sort of Neanderthal situation, and just trying to introduce systematized processes. That's a major hurdle. People don't realize how much that is. We don't.
Yeah, I know we're not totally there yet, but you can see how far we've
No,
come.
no, we're having a lovely.
Yeah.
That's something to be paid attention to.
So on the next page 9, sorry, trying to get through it so we can end on time. Clinical service documentation reviews. Our goal is to have 2 a month. I'd like to see that to increase to 3 a month, but let's make sure we're meeting our goal first.
Is it do with the care plan for the individual? You're looking at
That is the
Just
actual
plan.
services that's reviewing the actual
that was
services.
delivered during that period.
Yes, so we're looking at the documentation on the quality of the service notes
Okay.
to make sure. So we have, they'll pick a staff person.
Right.
And they'll say, we're going to do a sample of your notes for, say, about a month. And look at all your notes for about a month. And we're going to critique them. What are you doing that's strong? What are you doing that's not so strong? Are you passing? Are you failing? We have a whole utilization review tool that the peers use. So in other words, another peer can use it. It can be done by another clinician, or we did have a case manager doing it until, again, we lost her. We'll replace her, and hopefully that person will do even more than just the 2 a month. Because this is in between all the other things that they're doing, obviously. It's not their sole
Is there a requirement when you hire a public health, a minimum requirement that you take the written test and you compose a paragraph showing you the sentence? No.
No. You guys want to speak to that?
I'm sorry, that was.
Yeah.
I asked the question of, when you're going through the process of being hired, do you have to do anything like compose a paragraph, write a paragraph or something? I know the probation department or the parole department, they had federal funding that they could have hired a whole bunch of parole officers. But Steve Buchholz at the time, this was back in 2002, said he could not, none of the applicants from the local law enforcement agencies had the capacity to compose a paragraph. And that's minimal requirement for writing probation reports and parole reports. So,
That's one of the things I've been wanting to bring in as far as the interview. To be honest, I think our interview process is too easy. I think our interview process is too easy. I mean, I can answer these questions, but
I looked it up on Google.
well, so what we did, like, for example, what I did, for example, with, we had a couple of psychologist interviews, and part of what our psychologist would do would be looking at notes from the hospital, because this hospital wanted to put a client on conservatorship. I took all the names out, so it was,
Sure.
he couldn't see who it was, and I said, give me your input, just to see,
Sure.
the validity. Like our computer software people, we actually have them do kind of a written test and talk about software and how we give them a technical problem and they.
Sure.
So I'm
And
trying.
that's standard in the industry.
I know. So I'm getting at is I'm trying to actually up the quality.
Yeah. Now, I thought, in my experience of working in an editorial field for over 50 years, if a person cannot extemporaneously compose a paragraph about something that they claim to know something about, and explain it to you in 50 words or less, or 100 words or less, they can't do their job.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not just here, it's across the board, the writing. I had to put it on hold, I've been teaching for a little college.
You have?
I have, and there was one of my students, I literally made him type his homework because I couldn't read it right.
There you go.
I can't grade your homework because I can't understand.
Right.
So it's just there's a problem across the board.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, the standard is dropped, just.
I know master's students that couldn't compose it.
Yeah, so do I.
And it's really hard working.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to run through these a little bit quicker.
Yes, ma'am. You keep
Sorry.
saying that, like,
I know, I'm like that. We got 3 minutes here. And again, you can take this with you and call me if you have any questions or comments. I have no problem. Or you can call her because.
You can call me and I will gladly answer any questions that you have with the best answer I can provide.
What's your name?
My name is Utana.
Say it again.
Utana.
We stole her from another department and we're very happy that we did.
Okay then.
So anyway, clinical service documentation, I think we just went over that. Clinical overall scores of services in compliance with Title IX regulations. We have a specific section on that in that UR review tool. Quality review of overall charts minus the services. So we're talking assessments our treatment plans and within the timelines, that type of things.
My God, you're supervising.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah.
We're checking supervision.
Shocking.
Quality review scores, overall charts, and compliance. We had a low score according to the triennial last time, so we're paying particular huge attention to that right now, and ongoing. Monitoring test calls. We do, that's the thing, I remember I was trying to tell you yesterday, I was going to bring that report to us, and I was trying to remember what that report I was going to bring, but I had so many things on
That was the thing.
the types of test calls that we have. I collect
call, meaning,
test calls to our 1-800 number or access lines. So we want to say what the client is experiencing, so we actually have people calling the lines to test them to see how they're being treated.
They would call it as if they were a client.
I do that all the time.
There you go.
I know what you're talking about.
So we have,
What do you have in that?
we have a specific form
Sure.
that they can fill out and they
Sure.
send to me, and then I'm able to report it to the state. Tracking the amount of calls for the appropriate use for the 24/7 crisis line. So we want to make sure that the clients that need the callers, that we have this crisis line that has the ability to take care of a lot of the crises without having to deal with the crisis worker, because they are actual crisis workers answering. It's called Crisis Support Services through Alameda County, and we contract with them. So instead of just an answering service providing the caller, they can actually deal with the crises. So, but we also want to make sure that the calls that they're having to deal with are appropriate as well, because no matter what, we have to pay for it. So we want to make sure the line is clear enough, and if there's any ways we can divert those non-appropriate calls. Monitoring the number of services of clients who has received a brief intake screening. So we do, how many brief intake screenings do we do, and how many assessments are we doing? How many assessments are coming out of those? So a brief intake screening, when you call up and they're kind of, instead, you're taking the first call, you're requesting for services, but are you appropriate? Are you going to have to go all the way into the clinic to do an assessment just to be told that they need to refer out? We're trying to eliminate that step.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what the brief intake screening. So how many of those brief intake screenings are resulting in assessments? Actual physical assessments.
Perfect.
So that's something that we, and what is the timeliness of them? Are they coming in again within that 2 days? The goals for the productivity of mental health staff. We're averaging 55%. We should be averaging 70%.
Yeah, that's of their time.
Of their time, of their specific service to clients' time.
So
How do you measure the productivity of that time?
on the documentation that they submit, they have to have a start and an end time and a total number of minutes for each service that
So
they
it's time
deliver.
spent, not
Correct.
outcomes.
Well, time spent is an outcome.
Well,
Not from the taxpayer's perspective.
Well, it is.
No, no, it is
in
a
the sense
matter
that if I'm working an 8-hour day
Right.
and only 2 of the hours are spent in providing service.
I understand.
The other thing we're being outcome too, and this is why we're checking on their documentation, is if it's just, yep, saw John for an hour, yep, saw John for an hour, nothing ever changed, and that's not productive. But when they're documenting, hey, we just saw a decrease in this, we saw an increase in that,
Right.
that is times, well, making a change, and that's why we're pushing the quality of the notes.
Yeah, you gotta read the notes.
And we are.
You gotta read the notes. Where the people live, okay.
so also the clients who are receiving follow-up services after discharge, like I said, RDHD appointments,
Right.
and making sure that they're getting follow-up. So, like I said, how many of those, not just the RDHDs, because a lot of the clients already are existing in the system, so they're not going to need that. They are going to need some kind of billable service after they got out of the hospital. They need to make sure that they're getting someone and getting the resources that they need. So these are things that we are setting for
Part of this is, one of the other metrics that we have that Mark talked about is from the time of discharge to the time of an appointment. We're measuring that.
Right.
But this also looks at, for those people that had that appointment set and did not keep that.
Yeah.
So looking at that as well.
Sure.
So those are the goals that we have identified in the QI document. So again, please take it with you if you would like. Review it. If you have any questions, give us a call. Give Utah a call at the Lucerne office. She's at the Lucerne office, pretty much. And on that closing, I guess, that closing of it, do you have any questions, comments, or have we already hashed them all out? Wow, that's so fun. Okay, then on that closing, this is officially my last QI committee meeting. So what? Yeah, you weren't here when I announced I'm resigning, and that's why we keep on saying passing the torch to them.
I just got hooked on that. I mean,
I must say, this is not going to happen again. I'm just saying I'm not going to be a part of it.
Yeah, you have a card.
I don't know, be on your case. Oh, yeah.
Am I finally off the hook?
Huh?
Am I finally off the hook?
You
You
got
said you got Eric's case.
Well,
Am I off the
it
hook?
looks like you guys holding the bag on this one. You're never going to be off the hook. You understand?
Well, I wanted to share
Good job.
I wanted to share what this committee meant to me. It brought a whole new light into what I do daily, and it brought a whole new light in appreciation for what my coworkers do every day. So we've had rough years, and we've done an amazing job throughout, just meeting everybody. So.
Hey, does that mean you're leaving behavioral health?
I got another opportunity. Yeah, like I said, after 17 years of behavioral health.
You've been here 17 years?
Yeah, been here for 17 years.
And
It's
you've
been
been
quite
quite
the ride.
amazing. No, thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. Thanks. So please still be involved because it's so worthy. We need the outside help as much as we need to be, act proactive inside. We need the outside help and your guys' suggestions and comments and so please remain active because it's important work.
Well, if you're leaving, I'm going to tell you my grievance.
Oh, great.
No, you need to get, because this is so weird. There's a member of a law enforcement agency who commented inappropriately to a female trainer that I had been 5150'd by the sheriff's department. In a public meeting with FEMA and county as people. Now, I know that doesn't qualify as a 5150 grievance, but I just want you to understand that is how complicated it is for people like me who really do try to support the organizations and the communication issues and that kind of stuff. It's a lot of people I know who would be activists are much more threatened than I am. And they're more easy to intimidate, and they'll just shut up. It's not a good thing that happens here.
Betsy, do you see that changing
Not yet.
from where it was 5-10 years ago?
This happened in January of this year.
Okay.
And I was invited to that particular, that's an Emergency Management Institute, FEMA Emergency Management Institute. I have credits for that attendance. And I was invited by FEMA to attend.
The reason I ask is, as sort of part of the MHSA program was to engage in activities to reduce stigma.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think that's going to
understand.
be a long-standing process.
Absolutely. One of the things I became a volunteer here in 2005 for a little organization called Senior Support Services, which was founded by 2 gay women. Their intention was to establish a peer counseling program for lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgender people. And I became a volunteer working for that organization. My whole primary purpose is to help elderly and caregivers that take care of elderly. I have a particular love and would love to facilitate outreach and education and support groups for LGBT older adults. And I'm working with the Lucerne Senior Center. I've been trying to help those folks for a long time to do outreach for those. And God, through the radio station, I think half of the LGBT community, is somehow intertwined with that radio station. And that has changed, because when I came here, I know that I lived in Berkeley. I was a corporate manager, and I never went anywhere without my backpack. was a global corporation manager. I just carried my backpack. When I came here and I looked at the attitude of people that were in charge, I went downtown and bought a purse. Okay? It has nothing to do with whether I'm a lesbian or not. It's that we're penalized in subtle ways. And the government processes are really, I come close to saying that they intentionally put barriers for public participation. And even the fact that not being able to find out who to contact for the mental health board on the county's website is not only a violation of the Maddie Act, but this is a general tenor, or that we just don't have the rabble to know what we're doing. And I've been dealing with that for a decade of my years. So, I mean, yeah, I know I piss that guy off, but whatever, the responsible, when you say people getting involved, a lot of what happens here is that fear. And that's an underlying mental health issue. Any way we can help you by getting on the radio and talking about stuff that you want to get out there and get the public involved, that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marta.
And thank you. Oh my God.
It was a good meeting. It's, we haven't had to have it for a while because I was addressing all those audits and stuff, so it's kind of very fitting to be wrapping up my time here with the last meeting and stuff. Because it was like, you're not a meeting for so long, we have to have a meeting, get that going. And introducing Eric and Tana to the whole process as well, so they have an understanding. And this is actually a very important meeting.
So are both of you guys new?
Yes.
Ah.
He started the day before.
Wow. and where are you from?
Well, I've actually lived and worked all over California. Most recently, I was director of outpatient services for Sierra Vista Hospital.
Okay.
And living in Placerville. A friend of mine who knew Kevin had an opening, talked to him, connected the two of us, and here I am.
See, there are people who are crazy enough to come here because
That's right.
they really want to be here.
Fit right in there.
Yes.
It wasn't that much.
There's a little more water over here.
Yeah,
But nobody told me about the rice flies.
Oh, I didn't mention it. And how do you spell your name?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
It's U-T-A-N-N-A.
U-T-A-N-N-A.
I didn't even pronounce that close.
Utana.
Utana.
Okay. Completely different spelling.
And where are you from?
Oh, I was raised here, and I came over from child support,
Uh-huh.
and
Stolberg from Charleston.
Yeah.
I was in child support for almost 6 years,
Wow.
and I came over here, and I really like it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're definitely keeping her. I would say that, but I'm definitely keeping her no matter what, but they're definitely keeping her. She hasn't been here for very long, but let me tell you, she's catching up really quick.
Good.
It's like I said, it's really interesting and fun to see the new blood coming through. You know, like I said, I've been here a long time, so I'm seeing these different changes and these different opportunities that are going to be happening. And it's an exciting time for us. We're making some
Do you
serious
feel that,
progress.
I mean, you've done this for 17 years here. Have you seen that? Are we shifting? Are we moving that super tanker an inch?
I think we're getting there. Like this last year, like I said, this last 2 years at least have been super challenging in so many different ways. The staff turnover is only part of it. We've gone through in the last, between the last 3 years, we've gone through, Kevin's our third director, and I know he's interim director. We're hoping he's better off, but between the differences and stuff like that, we're getting used to the earthquakes shaking our world. It has been for a long time.
And hopefully things will get more settled.
Right.
Yeah. There was a big sea change. For whatever it's worth, Prop 63 did push some buttons, and make the state realize that local mental health care to be critical.
Well, they're the ones that give us the mandate to provide the service.
Exactly, I know. Yeah,
So,
Kelly, can I ask? I know they were looking to fill your position because you're just interim. So it's closed, I believe, and they don't have a decision yet.
Actually, interviews are next week.
Tuesday.
Oh, interesting.
Monday, Monday they do the panels, and then the top candidates will go to the board of supervisors. Both this and public health. It was supposed to be this last week.
right, they postponed it.
Well, it's easier to put together one panel than two, and I think some of the applicants got also applied for us, so they just consolidated, we'll do both public health and public health.
Okay, go.
I think, the county's had a lot of turnover. We had a lot of retirements, we have a new CAO, we have a new social services director, we have a new public services director. So I believe next week, if I remember Susan wraps it up, and the interims will be done, and we'll have permanent department heads in all positions.
Did you have a lot of people apply for board?
I don't know, because I am one of the candidates, so,
Yeah, no, good luck,
I
yeah.
have to, in fairness, I can't know any more than applicants.
you know tons more than any other applicant about this system.
No, I mean about the
About the hiring process.
So I really don't know if it's only me or if there's 20, I don't know. Well, there'll be a panel on Monday, which will be comprised of, I'm assuming, other department heads, and then they'll go to the board of supervisors on Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you everyone for